So, BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and this video wasn't necessarily planned for this video to be made the day that it was. Though I know I said I had to finish it in July, but screw it. I said we were going to do a sequel to the first one because I felt like I missed a few examples from the first video. And crap, 300 views. Thanks, guys. That means a whole lot. Seriously, I need to keep my promises and get these videos out much faster and not be so lazy. But it is what it is. Still, yeah, I had a few more characters I wanted to talk about who may not be as mainstream as the others, but there's a thoughtful discussion to be had with all of them. Specifically the ones as of late, with quite a few either having anime adaptations come out as of late, or I recently revisited and asked, wait, how come I didn't talk about these characters before in the first one? Let's start with the Okinawa anime and manga Okitsuda, which is short for Okitsuda. Fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I knew what she's saying. It's a story inspired by the mangaka, who was told about Okinawa-related stories, and also had a grandparent with Okinawa roots. And for the anime, most of the cast, save for the protagonists, are from Okinawa. Hell, the anime production even hired an Okinawa boy band to create the anime's OP. The leads are Teruaki Nakamura, short for Teru, who develops a crush on a girl named Hina Keian, an energetic girl, but he finds difficulty in understanding her accent. But he receives help from Hina's best childhood friend, Kana Higa. However, Kana has a crush on Teruaki but tries to hide it, translating and explaining parts of the culture to him as a way to also get closer to him. Now, I haven't watched the anime, but I have watched all the episodes since it's still ongoing. But I've heard in there, Kana gives up as Teruaki and Hina get closer together. But 45 chapters in, it feels like a much different story. And it turns out while I was working on the script that the anime actually covered up until chapter 44, which is where Kana has that resolution. But even if you watch the anime, since they adapted basically everything pretty well for the most part, it's actually a bit more complicated than that because Teru and Kana actually have a lot of interesting moments together. Then there's the cooking class where they end up inches from each other's face and have romantic meltdown in 39, her practicing the Shimazen in 37, they get close together when they end up in a typhoon and Teru and Kana get super close, they hold hands during the courage test. Heck, during chapters 15 and 16, they practically go on a date to a shopping mall and get accused of being a couple, but think about whether or not they meant going out again romantically or going out platonically. Now, around chapters 40 and 41, where I believe the last episode of the anime ended off for now, assuming it's getting a season 2, I need another romance anime to get a season 2. Stop ending everything only after one season. He accidentally makes Hina think he's in love with her and gets a gift, and she starts to get worried he was in love with her. But he remembers the memories of Okinawa. He remembers everyone, including Hina, but it's Kana who shines the brightest in his mind, and he starts to blush. So finally, it seems he's opening up to the thought of falling in love with her. The series ain't over yet, so we have a chance to wait and see what happens, but for now, it looks like the introvert in this race still has a chance. I'm rooting for Kana because Kana's character is usually attempting to fight her shyness by becoming more assertive in comparison to Higa, and the series never makes fun of her for trying outside of her friend, but rather Teru's feelings have been swayed, and though she refuses to see Hina as an obstacle, which is a good thing, it's telling the girl with the feelings and only doing the vast majority of the work is usually seen as pushy and bossy, despite the relationships that actively work in real life only doing so because they're active. So the fact that Teru's appreciation is growing for her only just makes you want to root for her more. Next, let's get to I Want to Do Bad Things With You, and man, you just feel bad for Momori Wataya, a social outcast who's worked hard to make a mother who doesn't believe in her smile, has no confidence in her height or strength at the beginning, and taken advantage of and had her feelings hurt by almost anyone who never believed in her or just wanted to use her. That was until she met Soshifuji, the most disliked boy at school, a sick self-proclaimed villain whose father ignored him and chose to have an affair with another woman to raise his new brother instead of him. That's insanely messed up, and until he met her, he's never really had anyone who he can consider a valid friend. And yet, because Momori has felt powerless, the mental door he helped her open allowed her to see herself being more capable of something, taking a risk to be just as villainous as two high schoolers could reasonably be. One hand holding plunge into the pool later, she makes a promise to help him surpass his brother. And it's really cute seeing two people who are aware and see themselves as villains finally have a person they care about. And speaking of topics I wanted to talk about before, Now it's time to talk about Kurai Anoko to Shitai Koto, aka what I like to do with that gloomy girl. That translation really needs something much sweeter. But I need to talk about something that's been grinding my gears with the discourse surrounding the series. Caring about your brother or sister does not make you a bro-con or a cis-con. Ignoring the doomers, one of the criticisms is that Toko, our female main character, is a bro-con, especially compared to the main character, Habuta, who has an overprotective sister, and I do not understand where this argument is coming from. Toko is a reserved teenager, and she saw her brother as a role model and her only friend, so of course when he left for college and ended up with a girlfriend, something she never figured out thanks to her own form of loneliness, of course she wouldn't be necessarily able to understand that and feel more isolated and alone outside of her mother and stuff. Ironically, it's because of her relationship to Habuta that she's been able to understand her brother a little bit more, and she's been helping Habuta's own sister be more comfortable. Like, yes, he has a crush on her, and she realizes she's developing feelings for him, but they're still taking it slow because, you know, a person who's reserved isn't naturally just going to be extroverted and into having a relationship. They're understanding that they care about each other, and romantically, it's taking steps, which I do understand for a manga that's going long for a while. It's going to feel a little bit slow-paced to people, but hey, it's not written. Girlfriend levels are crazy. And a fair number of people have said that it doesn't feel like they're friends, but clearly that's not the case. She's just bad at admitting her feelings. Look at the latest chapter image and tell me there's no signs that they're in love with each other or care about each other. Even their even her mom and his sister are aware of it. So, next up, there's Kuseninoi flunking her high school glow-up, and we've got two former losers in middle school who changed their images, with Shizuki still feeling mentally scarred from what happened. And though he realizes he's in love with Kuseninoi, he still hesitant but still does his best for her. Which people complain about his dynamic with Hibikawa, but you try getting upset someone with anxiety from his former bully and desiring he grow out of it, when she's literally morally gray enough that she's also being abused by her stepfather and even he feels bad about it. But Kuseninoi is definitely the more introverted of the two in terms of romance. He's still also introverted because of his suffering and the fact that even when he's able to talk to people, he still tries to keep reserved and not make the mistakes he did in the past. And yet, you still gotta respect that they're both taking steps while overcoming their own internal struggles. Next is Vintaro from The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, or as I'm used to know it as Karoru Hana wa Win Tosaku, which I didn't even know was having its animated adaptation, and of course no one bothered to tell me this. But no one even asked why Vintaro wasn't in the first video. I mean, of course he was going to be in the first video if I remembered. This poor gentle giant was bullied in the past for the crime of his parents owning a cake shop and looking scary. Okay, real talk. If you are afraid of another child at the same age, or you know a child that talks about how another child in the classroom is creepy, and you know or learn that they have not done anything wrong, it's just people think they are, why not just either have the kid, or if you are the kid themselves, just ask, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Do you want a friend? But cheese and rice, can anyone blame him for being reluctant to talk to anyone other than his friends at the start? Like, it's because he's such a good person that Kuroko fell in love with him despite him not even realizing it. But it's really because of her he gets the confidence to change certain aspects about himself. Like I talked about in the last video, being an introvert is not about, you know, falling in love and then suddenly changing who you are. Love helps an introvert be more comfortable with other people. It gives them the self-confidence to make their own steps in ways that they feel is appropriate for their own growth. It's not about changing from someone becoming less reserved to someone that's immediately able to just be open and talk to everyone. That's not how it works. But it's small steps that make someone a better person, and them having the self-assurance thanks to the self-assurance from others. And I hope he figures out what's going to happen in chapter 158, but that's spoilers for those watching the anime, and we're not going to get into there. Oh, what? You're only going to talk about 5 characters this time? Didn't you talk about, like, at least more than 10? Well, I feel like when it comes to introverts, I'm always going to forget something, and there are a couple of characters in manga that I just haven't watched in a while. So I figured I might make this a recurring series that I talk about every once in a while. Then again, considering that the last time I talked about this was either in March, April, or May, yeah, maybe I should try to at least keep that contained to at least a 2 to 3 month time period, which are going to be My Love Story, Fruits Baskets, Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, and Hitomi-chan as Try with Strangers. So look forward to that whenever I release that in the future. Thanks for watching, and BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.